Good evening. Welcome to TVB News. The very hot weather warning is in force for the third consecutive day. The observatory records a maximum temperature of 34.1 degrees Celsius in the afternoon, the highest so far this year. Mimosang reports.
A sunny sky and a calm sea. This ice cream fan in Tsimsha becomes the go-to spot under the scorching weather. Some residents take rest in the shade. Over in Central, some people don't seem to be bothered by the heat and carry on running along the waterfront. By afternoon, Chengkwano recorded a highest temperature of 36.5 degrees, and the blazing heat continues to sweep across Hong Kong. Many districts see the mercury rising to 35 degrees or above. Temperatures exceed 36 degrees in places like Tai Po, Sha Tin, and Shenzhou. The observatory says the weather will take a downturn on Saturday because of a weakening anticyclone aloft, while upper air disturbances will bring the city some showers and thunderstorms, coupled with an easterly airstream. Looking ahead, weather authorities forecast the temperatures will rise again midweek next week after the easterly airstream is replaced by a southerly one. Moments 9, TVB News.
A suspected gas explosion in a unit in Lam Tin estate leaves a woman with burns. A district council member says the woman's gas stove exploded while cooking. The incident occurred in a unit in Lam Pik House at around 10:30 this morning. The woman inside the flat sustained burns to 40% of her body, including her face and arms, and was rushed to Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment. Police and firefighters arrived at the scene, cordoning off the area and evacuating residents across 3 floors. A large amount of debris was scattered in the open space outside. The gas supply has also been shut down. The fire department and town gas are both investigating the incident. Residents were cleared to return to their flats 2 hours later. A secondary school student leaves an exposed cutter on the city bus following an argument with classmates. Police was later called to the scene after passengers reported seeing the blade. Officers arrived at the scene and seized the box cutter, which was approximately 13 centimeters long with 1 centimeter of the blade protruding. After reviewing CCTV footage, the police identified the secondary school student who pulled out the cutter while arguing with classmates on the bus. The student then got off the bus, leaving the cutter behind. Police arrested the student in Aberdeen on suspicion of possession of an offensive weapon and attempted wounding. Chief Executive John Lee will lead a business delegation to visit Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan on May the 31st. Lee says the purpose of the trip is to strengthen cooperation between Hong Kong and Central Asia in areas including finance, trade, infrastructure, innovation and technology, and green development. Government officials joining the delegation include Deputy Secretary for Justice Horace Cheung, Secretary for Financial Services and the Treasury Christopher Hui, and Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao. Lee notes this delegation is the largest of its kind in the current term of the government, comprising over 40 Hong Kong business and professional representatives and about 30 representatives of mainland enterprises. University Grants Committee's records show more Central Asian students have chosen Hong Kong as the study destination. Some students think they have a good chance of finding work in Hong Kong after graduation. Mimosang reports.
Tiola is an information systems student at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Apart from receiving a scholarship from the university, the student says there are other reasons attracting her to study in Hong Kong.
Originally, I actually wanted to study in US, but then my parents made it clear that it's not safe there. Europe, like most touristic spots, have pickpocketing problems as well. And yeah, when I just searched about Hong Kong, how it ranks in safety, it was one of the safest cities in the world.
Sabina is another Central Asian student studying at HKUST. Coming from Kazakhstan, she favors Hong Kong's education environment and its advantages of being the financial hub. She thinks finding a job in Hong Kong after graduation will not be too difficult. University Grants Committee shows that 575 Central Asian students have come to Hong Kong to study at the 8 subsidized universities this academic year. More than 80% are from Kazakhstan, followed by Kyrgyz Republic and Uzbekistan. Mums 9, TVB News.
The 3 astronauts of Shenzhou 21 are heading back to Earth to the Dongfeng landing site in northwest China. They left the Chinese space station mid-afternoon and are embarking on their journey home. The Shenzhou 22 spacecraft carrying the Shenzhou 21 astronaut crew separated from the space station at 2:44 p.m. According to the plan, it flew independently for approximately 4.5 hours. The entire return and landing process will last about 50 minutes. The 3 astronauts entered the Chinese space station at the end of October last year, making their 7-month stay at the space station the longest by a Chinese astronaut crew. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi attends a meeting of the Group of Friends of Global Governance at United Nations headquarters in New York and outlines 9 priorities for reform. China launched the Governance Initiative last year to facilitate multilateral relations. Wang calls for efforts to advance UN reform to make the world body more efficient and the Security Council more authoritative and capable. Wang says the world today faces a situation that is both turbulent and fluid, but expressed optimism that the group could bring about meaningful change, saying it now has more than 60 members. Wang outlines 9 priorities for reform, including improving the effectiveness of Security Council, deepening reform of the global economic system, establishing rules governing artificial intelligence, and improving the overall efficiency of the UN. He says, though not perfect, the UN remains the most authoritative platform for global governance. UN Deputy Secretary General Amina J. Mohammed says the UN must reflect the weight of the 21st century, adding multilateralism hadn't let the world down, but multilateralism had been let down. Welcome back. US and Iranian negotiators reached a tentative agreement to extend the ceasefire in the 3-month-old war by 60 days and start a new round of talks on Iran's nuclear program, according to a US official familiar with the matter. Elsewhere, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Ishaq Dar in New York and exchanged views with him on the situation in Iran. Daniel Rao tells us more.
US and Iranian negotiators reach a tentative agreement to extend the ceasefire in the 3-month-old war by 60 days and start a new round of talks on Iran's nuclear program, according to a US official familiar with the matter. The memorandum makes clear Iran will not be able to impose tolls on the Strait of Hormuz and that Iran will have to remove all mines from the vital waterway within 30 days, according to the official, who was not authorized to comment publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. Under the tentative agreement, the US would gradually lift its naval blockade on Iranian ports and would also agree to relax sanctions, allowing Iran to sell more of its oil. Iran did not immediately confirm any deal. US Vice President J.D. Vance confirms there's been a tentative agreement, but says it was unclear if US President Donald Trump would approve it. It's hard to say exactly when or if Trump's going to sign, Vance told reporters. He adds we're going back and forth on a couple of language points. But Vance asserts Washington has the capability to significantly set back Tehran's nuclear program.
If you look at what we've already accomplished here, assuming that we're able to get to a final agreement here, we're reopening the Straits of Hormuz, we've already decimated their conventional military, and we're in a position where we could substantially set back their nuclear program, not just during the term of this president, but over the long term. That's a very, very good thing for the American people. So we're not there yet, but we're very close and we're going to keep on working at it.
The emerging memorandum of understanding comes as the fragile ceasefire in the war between the US and Iran appears to be wavering. The latest flare-up in fighting happened when Kuwait intercepted missiles fired from Iran, according to US Central Command. Elsewhere, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammad Ishaq Dar in New York and exchanged views on the situation in Iran. Wang says Pakistan has actively mediated in the US-Iran negotiations and is a trustworthy and qualified mediator. He says China will continue to support Pakistan's peace efforts and work to push for dialogue and negotiation and promote a comprehensive ceasefire so as to restore peace and stability in the Middle East and the Gulf region as soon as possible. Dan Rahul, TV News.
US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says any peace deal with Iran must involve opening the Strait of Hormuz. However, he says he won't get out ahead of US President Donald Trump. This as Iran forces fire at 4 ships attempting to cross the Strait of Hormuz Thursday. Speaking at a White House briefing, Bessent was repeatedly peppered with questions about reports that US and Iranian negotiators have agreed to a memorandum of understanding. But the Treasury Secretary wouldn't confirm that the tentative agreement to extend the ceasefire is in place, claiming he hadn't spoken with Trump on the matter before taking part in the White House briefing with reporters. Bessent underscored that Trump has made clear there can be no deal without Tehran agreeing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, dispose of its highly enriched uranium, and pledge to never have a nuclear weapons program. Bessent also downplayed Trump's threat against Oman when he warned the US ally during a cabinet meeting not to enter into any agreement with Tehran to share control of the strait, or the US will have to blow them up. The United Nations is deeply concerned by the escalation of hostilities in Lebanon, as well as Israeli strikes Thursday in southern Beirut. Israel's Air Force carried out an airstrike on the southern suburb of Lebanon's capital, further straining a fragile ceasefire a day before crucial negotiations in Washington. Tracy Furness has more.
An apartment in the southern Beirut neighborhood of Chawi-Afat after Israel's military targeted it. Israeli airstrikes also destroyed the surrounding area, with nearby cars also damaged. Bulldozers already clearing up the rubble. This resident of the targeted neighborhood described what happened. We were sitting while our children were playing football. Suddenly we were shocked by the whistle of a missile that struck this building. The shock was so overwhelming, it took us some time to fully realize what had happened. Israeli military spokesman General Efi Defrin says, our goal is clear: to protect the northern communities, to push the threat away and to strike deeply and weaken Hezbollah over time. He went on to say, since the beginning of the ceasefire, we have eliminated more than 700 terrorists in Lebanon. They join the more than 2,500 terrorists that we have eliminated since the beginning of Operation Roaring Lion. The United Nations is condemning Israel's latest attack on Beirut, saying it is deeply concerned by the escalation of hostilities in Lebanon.
Turning to Lebanon, I can tell you that we are, of course, deeply concerned by the escalation of hostilities in that country. We're also very concerned by the Israeli strikes today in southern Beirut. We note with concern the intensified Israeli airstrikes on alleged Hezbollah targets across the UNIFIL area of operations, as well as north of the Litani River, including the Bekaa Valley, and reports of IDF ground incursions north of the Litani River.
Meanwhile, residents in Gaza City's Shati refugee camp gathered to inspect a damaged building following an Israeli airstrike Thursday night. No injuries were reported after the Israeli military issued an early warning before the strike. Earlier Thursday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel is expanding its control into Gaza. Across the Gaza Strip, 16 people were killed and 39 wounded over the past 48 hours, according to Gaza's health ministry. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The US Treasury Department is taking steps toward creating a $250 bill featuring US President Donald Trump, according to an agency spokesperson. The legislation, introduced by Representative Joe Wilson, would direct the department's Bureau of Engraving and Printing to put Trump's face on the new bill to mark the 250th anniversary of the nation's founding. If passed and signed into law by Trump, it would mark an extraordinary recognition for a sitting US leader, and comes as Trump has sought to place himself at the center of celebrations marking the country's birthday. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says he doesn't think there's anything untoward about the sitting president's face appearing on the $250 bill in honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States. However, Bessent says the final decision is up to Congress.
Treasury is following the law.
Europe continues to sizzle, with Portugal being the latest to observe record high temperatures. Portugal has recorded its highest temperature ever for the month of May, with the town of Moura heating up to the scorching 40.3 degrees Celsius, surpassing the national record of 40 degrees recorded in 1953 and 2001. The heatwave continues to affect regions south of the Tagus River, as the Portuguese Institute for Sea and Atmosphere warns the heatwave will likely continue into the early days of June. Meanwhile, UK and France continue to experience high temperatures. Over in Italy, temperatures as high as 32 degrees in multiple districts trigger blackouts, as long daylight hours and high temperatures are putting cables under thermal stress. The three-day Comic-Con opens at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Centre in Wan Chai. The event features creations from the comic and animation industries and will run until the end of the month. Mimosa Ngai reports.
Meet this massive Gohan statue from Dragon Ball. And take a look at these Ghostbuster models. For the first time, these classic anime and Hollywood characters gather in Hong Kong at the Comic-Con. This year, the event organizer includes a special segment inviting Hollywood celebrities to greet comic fans.
We love you, Hong Kong!
Meanwhile, Asian celebrity representatives are Hong Kong movie star Louis Koo and South Korean actor Bin Wook-suk. Many comic fans traveled from overseas to attend the event.
It's not my first time in Hong Kong, but it's nice to see something different in Hong Kong as well. It's very good. It's not too big, it's not too small.
The Tokyo Comic-Con is bigger, I think, than this one, but I'm sure the Hong Kong Comic-Con will get bigger and bigger because there's so many people. It'll be a very attractive event for many tourists from abroad.
A Hong Kong animation producer takes part in the exhibition. They think the city can host more similar events to help the development of local film and IP industries. Comic-Con was first formed by a group of comic, film and sci-fi fans in 1970 in San Diego in the United States, before developing into an international phenomenon. Mums 9, TVB News.
The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department has handled nearly 3,000 dogs since 2023. The adoption rate is about 40%, or close to half of them faces euthanization. Samantha Lee went to one of their animal management centres.
Vigorously wagging their tails the moment they see someone new. With longing eyes. These four-legged friends are not just being playful, they are waiting for a new home. Rescued from the streets or abandoned by their owners, these stray dogs found refuge here at the Animal Management Center run by the government. Staff here first check the dogs for microchips. Unclaimed or chipless dogs are sheltered here for medical checkups and routine care.
Here is the stray dog kennel consisting of 20 animal housing units. Staff members will come here to clean and feed the dogs every day.
The facility is equipped with a veterinary care room. From physical examinations and medical treatments to grooming, everything is done to boost the dog's chances of being adopted. The AFCD runs 4 animal management centers in Hong Kong. Over the past 3 years, stray dogs spent an average of 40 to 50 days here before being transferred to animal welfare charities.
In some of the cases that when we receive the animals, the condition is not really good, especially for their health, it's not healthy, or like they have some severe aggressive problem. For those animals that unfortunately we may have to euthanize them at the end, definitely that would be a hardship for me.
If the dogs are taught to illegal importation or dog-biting incidents, they will undergo a 7-day rabies observation period. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.